What's going on, family? Back with my guy, CEO of DDM Group, Neil Nelson. I like to call this Views from the C-Suite because you got that wonderful view behind you there, Neil. And
Awesome.
I think today, I want to get your insights on this whole DEI fallout, man. And speaking of that, coming off of Super Bowl, I saw where Kid Rock was speaking, and he called, DEI during the Super Bowl an IED because of how Kendrick Lamar had all black people and all that. But as it relates to business and whatnot, what are your thoughts on where we are with that? We're calling for a fast, or well, not we, but there are many in the black community calling for this fast or boycott, so to speak, of big box brands like Target. What does that mean in 2025?
I don't know what it means in any era, specifically around the issue of protest, right? And what protests can do for us this late in the game. I think that a lot of the people who are calling for boycotts and calling for fast, I saw that one of the bishop at New Birth uh, Baptist church here in Atlanta or in the Atlanta metro area was calling for a fast from some retail stores. I think he mentioned in particular Target. And I think that obviously he means well, and in the NAACP, I think they're also calling for something similar. I think they all mean well. I think what's missing from this is really a good study of history, understanding the history of these kinds of movements in the black community and their success rate. I think people look at the civil rights movement and they saw the immense success that came out of that movement, and they say, well, if and when we have problems, let's just do that and hope that will work. And what we've seen is that over the last 30 or so years, maybe 40 years, we have not seen substantial levels of success with that strategy of protest or boycott when it comes to corporations or even government officials and policies that are made at the federal, state, or state level.
It's funny you say that. I know we oftentimes have discussed um, how we have to organize ourselves in terms of the black community. And oftentimes we find other communities organizing us and then profiting off of us when we don't do that. So, what structures, organizationally speaking, do we need to make these types of boycotts effective from your vantage point?
I think we have to understand the the theory and principles behind organization of large groups of people. The black community in America is in a very interesting situation where it is a large enough population, but it doesn't have central government institutions to organize it, right? And so, in a way, it's a latent group. There's a really good book on this topic called Logic of uh, "The Logic of Collective Action" by Mancur Olson. And in that book, he talks about what he calls a latent group, which is a large group of people who do not have the organizational mechanisms to bring their people, their members, to act in a way that benefits the common interest. And he said that there are actually three main reasons why. He said there are three separate factors that keep large groups from furthering their own interest. One, the larger the number of members in the group, the greater the cost of organizing the group for collective action. Second, the larger the group, the smaller the fraction of the total benefit that any person receive when the group interest is achieved. And the third factor is that because of the first two, most individuals are disincentivized from bearing any of the cost for organizing the group and taking action in the first place. And so as a result of this, the large group remains what he calls latent. And so what we have in Black America as a whole is a latent group. And so before we start prescribing strategies and actions to be taken to resolve, to achieve our collective interests or our common goals, we have to understand that by and large, Black America is a latent group. And that designation is important before we can even talk about anything else and take any action.